Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're discussing mass awakening of men, which, as it turns out, and in the eyes of most women, it does not look in the way that they have predicted. And please be very mindful, I'm not trying to make a division between us men and them women, because that is also a highly sensitive subject. But for some reason, it seems that the awakening of men did not go in the way that women have expected it to be or to go, because it resulted in plenty of separation and division. And one of the reasons for that is simply that women and men have seen a lot of falsity in our behavior, and that we don't actually understand each other as we thought we did. That a lot of our reproductive strategies are not actually direct and overt, but covert and hidden. And that much of our behavior is highly manipulative in its nature, because we do the best we can to adapt and adjust to a profoundly sick society and trying to survive at the same time, which turns out is tough business and not very easy to do. Today's episode is going to be brief, but it will address very, very key and crucial points about how a male awakening looks like and what it entails. Before I start, I want you to know that there is no one true sense of what awakening means, because awakening, if you know anything about it, happens in layers and is practically an infinite process that you go over again and again and again. And if you're new to this, then I'm sure that by the very fact that I said the word awakening, you will embark on this journey and discover what this actually means on your own, because as Jiddu Krishnamurti says, the word is not the thing. So when I say awakening, I'm certain that that means one thing for me, and it means a completely different thing for you. Without further ado, what does the awakening of a modern man mean? For me, and I'm not using myself as a prime example, I'm simply giving you a personal note and experience in order for you to be able to hopefully relate to it, because all I can offer online or through eternity is a personal example and be a mirror to what you're going through in your process. My awakening began when I realized I was being used in relationships by women, and I have no shame speaking about this because I have shed away and taken away the part of myself that I was related to that did not allow himself to speak about these things, and that was ashamed of speaking these things, or more importantly and more precisely, that I allowed myself to be shamed by those same women when I would point out their negative behavior and their manipulative tendencies and strategies. Right now, I'm someone who is completely liberated from all that, and when I see and recognize these behaviors in women and I confront women with a direct rhetoric, of course that escalates and it turns into conflict, because no one wants to be told what they are doing and whether they're being manipulative and indirect in their communication. At the very same time, if you want to play the game with women, and I mean the game of seduction and the game of life, you also need to know that there are women and people in general, of course, that are not willing to be awakened and to wake up to their own illusions and the illusions of their own predicament of existence. And that's perfectly fine. You don't owe it to anyone, to any woman or man, to do that for them, because the essence of awakening is exactly that. It is unconditioning and deconditioning from everything that you know, which means the idea of the self as it is. So if you think that you are a certain way, for example, me, Milan, I'm a YouTuber, podcaster, and I tie my ego to that, so there's ego investment to that. So anyone that comes and challenges this is directly confronting me. And normally, of course, I would stand up and defend myself and go through all kinds of ordeals to try to prove to people that I literally don't know that I'm someone who I believe I am, thus creating more resistance and whatnot. But to not go too many complicated issues with this, I'm just going to tell you that there is an ego investment in every one of us. And we're all defending something that we believe in, but beliefs are not reality. And belief isn't and cannot be reality. And that is the harsh truth that we get to that we confront once someone challenges that. And the normal response to, for example, the women I have been seeing that I'm no longer with anymore in relationships was exactly that. So as a man who is direct and overt in his communication, when I would ask a direct question to a woman as to why certain behavior or tendencies or habits are a certain way, there would be an ego investment and there would be a defense of that, as instead of an explanation or pure just showing for what it is, because there is an element of shame that is hidden. Because if you're familiar with the work of David Hawkins, you will understand that on the scale of emotions and vibrational scale, shame is equated to the lowest possible vibration and emotion and is also associated with death. So, which means that, and please take this very seriously, people would rather die than feel shame because there is an ego investment to the persona that they are presenting to the world. For example, if I consider myself a strong alpha male, and if I go out in the world and I utterly humiliate myself, then the response to that will be that I will do my absolute best to not allow that to happen, and I will murder everyone, not literally, who does not align with that truth that I am showing to the world, which is that I am this competent, powerful man, which I am. And there are also times in which I am not that, which are moments of vulnerability and genuine weakness due to a plethora of factors. But if we go around the world, if we walk through this life holding so tight to that, as men, we are risking a lot of resistance in our lives, and we're not allowing ourselves to actually live our lives for what they are. We live them idealistically, and don't get me wrong, we do need that sometimes. But if we get too stuck in this idealistic thinking, such as I should be this way, I should look this way, I should behave this way, the resistance to that will be that that's actually not who we are. So we will basically be gaslighting ourselves into believing we are a certain way while not being that. And that is the behavior that you will recognize in modern women who are solipsistic in nature, and with the rise of also all kinds of spiritual practices and spiritual mumbo jumbo. And also one of the main reasons women are suffering today is because what they think, the idea of themselves, is not compatible to the reality of themselves. And this is in no way offense to women or any way meant to attack or belittle women. It is meant to show women that men also view reality, and that reality is something that if we don't coexist in together, will come to chase us to our grave and will separate us even further. And I met so many women like these, if you see women that tell themselves that they don't need to improve, then that they are perfect as they are, and I as a man can clearly see that there are signs of improvement, especially if they want to enter relationships with me, then if I am to voice that, which is something that they should want if they genuinely want to improve and want a relationship, then that will be offensive because there is an ego investment to how a person is. And mind you, as a man, this will be extremely uncomfortable to both you and the women you surround yourself with. Because don't forget, there is an ego investment and there is an illusion created that's an overlay of reality. So if you believe things are a certain way and you go out in the world and they are not, you're delusional and you're gaslighting yourself. If you're repeating mantras of abundance, say financial abundance, and you want to buy a house and you don't have money to buy that house, then you're gaslighting and deluding yourself into something that is not real and that is not truth. And that is very dangerous. And it's also dangerous to be a man and do these things because life is different for men and women. And you know that as a man. And I don't have to tell this to you in details either. I will give you one example, however. If you as a man who knows needs to build his value, If you go out in the world and you haven't, for example, worked out in years and you're skinny, and you go and you present yourself as a strongest, dominant alpha male, because that's how you feel or that's what you identify with, without the consistency, without the discipline, without the effort and visible results that are rooted in reality, you are going to really cause yourself some mental troubles, because you will be doing yourself such a disservice and a disfavor by allowing yourself to view reality through the lens of someone you are not, but believe yourself to be. Which is why when us men wake up, as we do collectively now, we start to realize that yes, you are, on the one hand, all that you ever wanted to be. You are that man who you wish to become. But what is needed in reality is consistency, is discipline, is time, is results, or rather, as I like to say, outcomes. If you do consider yourself to be abundant, then you need to see what abundance means. Does that mean abundance in wealth? And how does that look like for you? Because unless you have a clear vision and an idea of how that is, you yourself are a direct resistance to that thing which you desire. And also, don't forget one very important thing. Desire is a negatively vibrational state. Need is a positive vibrational state. So if there is a need for you to have, let's say, money, then the vibration aligned with that will be positive, and the work that you produce for the world and for the benefit and sake of the world will be positive. And thus you will produce work that impacts, hopefully, people positively. And also, there is no way for you to measure your performance in any way. That's the most interesting thing about creating work, content such as this one, that you are not able to see how far you've reached. But the best you can do is build that abundance apart from just feeling it, apart from just being in that state. Because if you want to create and if you want to do it properly, it has to come from a place of need, not from a place of want. Because that desire, and again, nothing wrong with having desire. Desire is without desire there is no movement. But a need is a much better vibrational match to the outcomes that you want to have and achieve. This is the very debate due to which women are suffering very much nowadays, especially feminists who say that they want a man, they don't need a man. And this is an existential paradox simply because you are not aligned with that version of yourself that says, well, I have everything I want in my life now, and I need a man now. I need a man that is a nice little match to this, that's a perfect yang for my yin and just comes nicely together. But instead of that, most of the women I've met do not reach that vibration of vulnerability, which is true feminine essence. That submissiveness, that quality to actually invite a man, or to enter a man's frame rather, when they are fully grounded in their essence, when they are who they are authentically and fully, and there are no disparities in what they say, their words do not contradict their actions and vice versa. And please, guys, be very mindful with women whose words don't match their actions, because that is a gigantic red flag. And also be mindful that red flags are not necessarily about people. So they're not about someone else. Red flags are about you. So you see a red flag, like imagine that like a minefield. You don't want to go into areas that you suspect there is a mine, and because if you step on a mine, your leg's gonna get blown away. So if you see a red flag, that is not an indicator of something there being wrong with the person. That person is just the way it is, and you don't need to change them. Actually, if you try to change a woman, you will realize that will often end catastrophically, unless the initiation for that change comes from the woman herself. If a woman says, look, I really want to change, and I've aligned with this, and there is no resistance within me, and I want to change, and it would mean the world to me if we can check up with each other and you helping me make this change, because that is in our mutual best interest. That is a completely different game and a completely different level of relationship than simply dealing with women that are not aligned, that are contradicting themselves constantly, which increases your confusion as a man. And you as a man, being a natural problem solver, you will just delve into this problem deeper and deeper, and it will not get easier, because when women are not aligned, they interpret reality first through emotional lens and then rational lens, as opposing to us men who interpret reality through first the rational lens and then the emotional lens. And if you think that for any reason, reason and logic is different or opposite to emotion, I want to get you more familiar with the work of David Hawkins. And again, I'm going to display the vibrational scale here and the stages of enlightenment. And this is not some spiritual mumbo jumbo. This is, unless you've experienced this on your own, you will realize that what I'm telling you is actually rooted in logic and science, based on the very research you will read and the books that you will read if you go deeper down this rabbit hole. So if you look at this chart, you will see that reason is right next to love. And love is a choice. Love is something that is a feeling, and that is also something that you consciously get to experience, rather than all those other negative vibrational and emotional states which you can choose not to feel. But without me going too deeper into that and too deep into that, I'm going to give you a bite-sized piece and just tell you that as a man, reason is your essence and is your strength. And don't let any woman or man tell you otherwise, because reason is deeply rooted in your instinct. Because reason is your map, your blueprint to pattern recognition in the world. You connect the dots that are unique to your experience. And the reason allows you to separate falsity from reality, from truth. And that is the most powerful tool you have in your toolbox. And no one should be able to change that and to affect that. Because your awakening as a man is your own process and no one else's. There is no one else to guide you. There is no one else to tap you on the shoulder, tell you how good of a job you did. Although that feels very nice, don't get me wrong. But that will again be an ego investment, because if you choose to be an ego-less person and someone who wants to exist in a non-dual state of being, then not only do you need to be immune to the negative aspect of life, insults, violence, offense, comments, you will need to be immune to the positive aspect as well. Now take this in for a second, because this is a very strong and powerful message, and I hope that this resonates with you and that you understand this deeper. That if you truly want to be enlightened, that you already are that. That's not a goal to pursue, because if it becomes something that you pursue, you're never going to achieve it. And the goal is not enlightenment. The goal of this life is not enlightenment. It's life itself. It's wholeness, being complete. So, and relationships are just one beautiful experience that help us get to know ourselves. So, as a man who is awakening, who's waking up and really tapping into his masculine essence, doesn't matter what that is. If it's the gym, if it's working out, if it's having tons of sex, if it's, just make sure that you're doing it for your highest benefit, and that you put yourself first, because if you don't help yourself, you won't be able to help someone else. You won't be able to tap into that beautiful masculine essence unless you are the strongest version of yourself, that aligned version of yourself, so that you can actually go into the world and help people, and literally help people by helping yourself. And that is exactly what I hope to be achieving with this channel, with my podcast, and with my work. So thank you for listening. I'm going to end on that note. I hope you could make sense of all this, and thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention and for wanting to do this incredible work with yourself and stepping into this infinite, field of possibilities. And you're going to enjoy it, and it will be everything you ever wanted. But make sure it's a need rather than a want. Take care. Bye.